Welcome to the Faith and Fishing Podcast, where you get to hear all kinds of fishermen tell their stories and share their faith. I'm your host, Cam Steele. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. We interrupt this introduction to bring you an urgent message from this week's guest.
I just want to give a birthday shout out to my beautiful wife, Christina, and I just want to recognize her on her special day. She's a blessing in my life, blessing in the ministry, great partner to me and mother to our kids, and just can't thank God enough for her and all that she means to me, and definitely want to take a second and wish her a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Christina. We now return you to your regularly scheduled introduction. Happy birthday to Christina, and like I was saying, welcome back to the Faith and Fishing Podcast, y'all. I hope everyone is staying safe and healthy out there, and even though some states have already opened up, including my own to a certain extent, and I hope everyone stays that way. I'm your host, Cam, and I wanted to thank you all for listening, and if you like this episode or any episodes of the Faith and Fishing Podcast, please give it a 5-star rating and a review. That really helps others find the podcast. Another thing you can do to help others find us is to share us on your social media. You can find the podcast on Instagram at Faith and Fishing Pod and at www.facebook.com/Faith and Fishing Podcast. Be sure to follow us there and share us with your friends, but enough of all that stuff. That's not why you're here. Let's jump into this week's episode. This week we have another really awesome guest for y'all. He's the owner of Journey Outdoors and Soul Fishing, and he is also the pastor of Cars Creek Baptist Church. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bryan Volpe. Bryan, man, welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners. Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about Journey Outdoors and what you do there.
Yeah, so Bryan Volpe. I've been a pastor for about the last 14 years. Been married to my wife for 16 years. We've got a 14-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. And we moved to Virginia about 12 years ago. I've been pastoring at Cars Creek Baptist Church since then. And about 5 years ago or so, we got introduced to the kayak industry. And at the beginning of last year, we opened Journey Outdoors, and it's been great. We absolutely love the kayak industry, and love the opportunity that it gives us to meet people and all the fellowship and camaraderie that it brings.
Absolutely. So, real quick, how did you get into fishing?
So fishing is something that I've been into since really since I was a kid. And I grew up in Florida, did a lot of fishing there, was horses there, did a lot of saltwater fishing. Things like that. And when we moved to Virginia, got into doing a little bit of fishing when we moved here, got a little John boat with a buddy, that type of thing. And then really, like I said, about 5 years ago when we got into the kayaking, that really opened the door, for us to really start being able to explore the bodies of water here, which were a little different for us, from coming from Florida. Obviously here, we've got a lot more, mountain creeks and rivers with rapids and those kind of things. And so learning the smallmouth was a little bit of a change for us, but really liked the challenge and have really enjoyed being able to get out on those waters and kind of a little slower pace, than running motor boats and all that type of thing. And so we've just enjoyed that tremendously, and gives us the opportunity, to get out as a family as well, spend some time on the water fishing.
Yeah, for sure. So what kind of kayak are you fishing out of now?
So with the fact that we have the kayak shop, it changes quite a bit. But last season I spent most of my time in a Crescent light tackle. It's a great kayak. It works exceptionally well here in our river system. Good paddling kayak. So, gave us the ability to get out in that particular kayak and test it out, spend some time in it. And like I said, it performs really well.
Awesome. So, all right, man, let's get into it. So, in a nutshell, tell us what you believe in.
So, absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity, as I said, to be on, and appreciate the opportunity anytime I get a chance to talk about my relationship with the Lord. And I'll give you a little bit of my background and test saved when I was a child. My dad got saved, and the first person he wanted to lead to the Lord was myself, and led me to the Lord when I was about 5 years old, and I asked the Lord Jesus Christ to be my personal Lord and Savior, and never have regretted that moment, I can tell you. And the Lord's been instrumental throughout my life. I felt the call to the ministry when I was about 12 years old, actually, in the church that we were attending at the time. My dad had gone into the ministry himself, pastoring, and we weren't actually involved. He wasn't pastoring in church at the time. So kind of got to get under some other leadership, and I had a great youth pastor, and the Lord called me into the ministry. And so I surrendered to the ministry then, and of course, I had a youth pastor that wasn't afraid to kind of have trial by fire, and so he said, how about you do the youth group, teach the youth group. And of course, I'm, young youth at the time, 12 years old, and there's kids up, into their college age in our youth group, and I was kind of intimidated and thought that I had, an hour's worth of stuff prepared. I thought I'll be up there forever, preaching. And about 5 minutes later, that was it. It was great, and it was, kind of got me into it a little bit. But we moved away from there, and kind of got back into my family got back into ministry back in Florida, and got to a point in my life where got some wheels under me, and had kind of been through some of the church drama that sadly exists, and got to a point where still loved the Lord. Never regretted that, never stopped that, but just kind of fell out of love with church, and ran for a while. Ran and kind of just didn't really want to talk about it, didn't really want to be involved in it. I would go to church, but I was just kind of there. I wasn't really plugged in. And about probably about 20 years old or so, I really, God just kept on. Of course, the Bible promises He'll strive with you, and He won't ever leave you or forsake you, and He definitely didn't. And chastises and shakes those that He loves, and definitely did that in my life, and got me to a point of kind of flat on my back. And I realized that I had let things that people have done or people have said get in the way of what was most important, and that was my relationship with the Lord. And asked Him to forgive me, and promised Him that if He would give me another minute, 10 minutes, hours, days, years, whatever it was, that I'd serve Him, and that I never should have stopped. And He did, and I surrendered to the ministry. Actually resigned from my place of employment and just stepped out on faith. And at the time, I was living here in Virginia, just working a secular job, and was going to church then. I started going to church a little bit more frequently, but really wasn't where I needed to be with the Lord. And as I said, I resigned that job. God told me I needed to go back to Florida and start a church, and we did that on faith. Started a church really out of nothing, but faith and knowing that God wanted us to do that. And He grew that place. He grew it. It was a small church, but He grew me, gave me opportunity to preach, gave me opportunity to minister. And in that couple of years' time, that church got to a place where we actually moved it into another community. And God put some other doors for me, and I had the opportunity to come back to Virginia as associate pastor and at the church that I'm at now, and that quickly developed into being the full-time pastor there. And as I said, I promised the Lord that if He gave me that opportunity to go at it again, that I would, and it's been great ever since.
Absolutely. So with that story that you have, can you tell us why it would be or why it is important for Christians to go to church? I know I hear a lot of well, I believe in Jesus, but I don't go to church. I don't really need the church part. So
and having, as I said, having lived that, and kind of getting in that position myself, and having seen, as I said, some of the things that shouldn't happen at church, but sometimes do happen at church, I let that get in the way and kind of blur, again, where I should have been and the focus that I should have had. And it absolutely is a necessity. I tell people all the time, I don't go to church because I'm the pastor. I go to church because I need it. I need the fellowship. I actually, we have a gentleman in our church that teaches our Sunday school class, our adult Sunday school class, and I like going to Sunday school. People sometimes think, well, you're the pastor, you can teach the class. Like, yeah, but the truth of the matter is, I love being taught. I love being in church, and the fellowship that it brings. And again, all of the support that you get from being involved in church, the accountability that comes through that. And as I said, that's where the Bible clearly instructs us why church is supposed to be exactly that. It's supposed to be that support system. It's supposed to be that help. Sadly, it does sometimes get out of line, and things do happen. But I would challenge anybody that's listening, as they listen to this, to just recognize and realize that, again, I kind of put it in that context before. A lot of times, people have a bad experience at a restaurant, but that doesn't mean that they stop eating out. And so again, you have to continue to look for a place where you can plug in and get involved and serve God, because it's absolutely worth it, and it's absolutely necessary and vital to your health as a Christian.
All right, awesome. So, what does it mean to you to have faith?
Everything. Without that, it's impossible to please God, as the Bible says. And in order to have that faith, it needs to really honestly and truthfully believe what we say we believe. And that's something that I try to do to make sure that everybody understands. That faith is, again, it's the evidence. It's not just talking about it. You can get up there and you can preach about it, or you can tell people what to do, but you've got to show people. And the reality of that is that's where our faith is demonstrated, showing people that God is real, that He's trustworthy, that absolutely He does exactly what He promised He'll do in His Word. He helps us in our time of need. He's everything that He said that He is. And again, without that, I don't know how people get through those situations, circumstances that they go through. Because again, He's that help that we need, that hope that we need in every situation. So, like I said, to me, it's of the utmost importance.
All right, and you mentioned earlier about a couple of times taking a leap of faith. Can you give us a kind of behind the scenes of what goes into taking a leap of faith, and the down and dirty about what actually happens whenever you on the inside of you whenever you take that leap of faith?
No, absolutely, and certainly that is definitely something that as you grow in your faith, you begin to realize, kind of that same thing in situations and circumstances that you go through. You learn to be more trusting and have more faith in God, because you can look back and see what He's done all throughout every one of those steps of your life. And definitely in a leap of faith, I tell people all the time that the beauty of it is that, God won't leave us. He won't forsake us. And so in that, I think it's so important that we're praying. And I tell people again all the time, it's something that's super important in my life, is praying isn't just, hey God, I've got all these things that I want you to look at, and I got all these things I want you to fix, and I've got all these things that I want you to do. But its reality is it's us recognizing what needs to be fixed, what needs to be done, and then studying the Word of God in order to hear back from God. And I find that in that, anytime that I'm stepping out to do something new, or something that you look at and think, God, this is a big situation or a big circumstance, that's where that prayer and Bible study is so important. In taking, again, as we're talking about, a leap of faith, so to speak, and realizing that God, again, will get us through that. He's promised that He has a plan. He's promised that He has a purpose. But it takes us diligently seeking Him and really bathing it in prayer. And again, even something that I think is lost a lot of times in the times that we live in is taking the time to fast. To say, God, I'm going to, give up some things that are distracting me. For some people it's food, for some people it's social media or television or whatever it could be. But just to really focus and say, God, I really, really want to get this right. I really want to be where you want me to be, and I want to do exactly what you want me to do in this situation. And the same as I said, when we're praying through that, it's not God, God, fix the situation or God, show me what I need to do, but God, help me trust you. Help me trust you every step of the way. It's a lot more about us and what we need to do and what we need to change. God's already got his part. He's already done his part. He already knows every step. He's already ordained those steps. We're the ones that have to really get ourselves focused and get ourselves ready for what's about to come.
Yeah, awesome. All right. So we're going to kind of start transitioning back towards fishing just a little bit here. Are there any specific times out on the water that you can remember that have affected your faith in any way?
Absolutely. Again, I think something that we miss a lot of times, when we're out on the water are the opportunities to reflect, the opportunity to see what God's done, the creation that he's created around us and the marvelousness of it. The opportunities, again, there's been times, kind of like the time I was talking about, back when I had a little John boat and was out with my buddy. There's just a guy, standing on the dock. And in that moment, God's saying, hey, here's an opportunity. Here's a guy, right here, fishing, doing what you're doing. You can just go by and wave, or you can take the time to say, hey, man, do you know the Lord? Again, as we're out enjoying creation, I think we can always be looking for those opportunities and realizing that, again, God's speaking and talking and working. And so absolutely, I find, any time that I'm outdoors, any time that I'm outside and it's quiet, and I can get away from all of the other distractions, it absolutely gives me an opportunity to connect with him and to connect to the people that are around me too, with this great fellowship.
Yeah, and along that same line, I know you're typically kayak fishing. I do too. And where we go with somebody, we're not necessarily right there beside them. But whenever you're out on a boat or a bank, or right there beside your fishing buddy, what is your typical conversation centered around?
So, again, I think that the conversation it really just comes out of the fact that, like we talked about, we're in creation, we're spending that time together. And so a lot of times the conversation becomes, the focus back to, how beautiful what God's created around us and the beauty of what he's done, the work that he's done, the intricacy of the work that he's done. And, I look at that and realize that, again, if God's concerned about all of that, which he is, he's concerned about every fish that's swimming underneath me or every bird that's flying over me. He's concerned about me, and he's concerned about them. He's concerned about their situations and their circumstances. So again, it just gives opportunity, I feel like, to encourage and an opportunity to share, and those conversations just come out of, again, being outside, fishing and just spending that time, conversation definitely comes up a lot, when we're out being fishers of men, just as he told his disciples, a lot of those guys were fishermen. So those conversations have come up a lot, when I've been in the boat with my buddies, again, I spend some time with guys that do bass those fish. Sometimes we'll ride along in tournaments, things like that. So those conversations just come up and again, it's a constant reminder of who we're supposed to be. And there's never a time, I don't ever want to be one guy in a pulpit and one guy in a kayak or on the bank fishing. I want to be the same guy all the time, and to show that, again, God's involved in every aspect of what I'm doing, and important in every aspect of what I'm doing.
Absolutely. So, what fishing story or memory means the most to you?
Think about that. I would probably have to say that the memories that mean the most, have been the times that I've been able to spend with my family, especially my wife and kids on the water and watching them enjoy it, watching them catch fish. One story that comes to mind, just in the last little bit, my son was always about, catching numbers. He was always wanting to catch little fish, catch little, perch, things like that. He wanted to catch the most fish. And so I told him, I said, hey, at some point, if we change that lure and take a little bit of time, you can catch something big, a little bit bigger. I said, I think once you do that, you're going to be hooked. And so we had just put in at the ramp. We all had just started getting, floating. And he got ahead of us, got out ahead of everybody. And he said, Dad, I'm hung up. So I said, all right, bud, hang on, I'll get there in just a second. So I'm trying to reel up. And, I had actually caught a fish while I'm trying to reel up. My wife had one, and daughter had one. Everybody caught a fish right out of the ramp. And I'm hung up. So about the time I got reeled up and my wife got reeled up, we got over there close to him and realized that the line was moving. And I said, buddy, you got a fish. And so he thought, of course, he was hung up because it's the biggest fish he's caught. So he caught a decent size little smallmouth. And since that point, it's kind of changed his direction, and now he wants to catch the bigger fish. Now he obviously wants to continue to catch big ones. So that's probably one of the best stories and memories as of late, for sure.
Absolutely. All right. So, as a dad, what life advice do you wish that you had been able to start off with and that you want to be able to send along with your kids?
Absolutely. And this is definitely something that was given to me. Having a father that was a pastor and was real. Absolutely. If there's ever a word to describe it, it is that. Would just be, again, to follow the Lord in everything that you do and keep Him at the center of everything that you do. And that's something that again, my son is 10 years old, and of course, he knows that there was a period of time in my life that I wasn't in church and that I wasn't doing everything that I needed to do. And actually, just this week, that testimony came up, and the Sunday school teacher, he said, I want to be like my dad. He said, but not at that point when he wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing. He said, I want to be like him now. And so that's what I want. I want him to seek the Lord early and often and stay the course. And I hope that through my testimony and through my life, that's what both of my children and anybody that I have an influence and an impact on, that's what they see. That again, stick with the Lord. Don't let circumstances or situations stray from Him. Stay the course, and He will absolutely lead you in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of flip-flopping that around, what fishing advice do you wish you had been able to start off with?
Probably I wish somebody would warn me all the money that I was spending. No. Again, honestly, I do. I wish, as a child, I did get to fish some, but it was something that I didn't get to do as much as I really wish that I would have been able to do. So I think if anything, the same thing, just to have the experience, and that's something, for our kids that we're trying to do and let them really gain a knowledge, of fishing. I mean, at 10 years old, I can tell you, my son has way more knowledge in fishing, even than what I did, and has had an opportunity to really learn and understand, some of the different things, different techniques, and those types of things. So I think in that, with fishing, personal experience. I just wish that I would have really paid closer attention when I was younger and spent more time, fishing.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So, what fish species is sitting at the top of your bucket list to catch right now?
Ooh, probably right this second. What I really would like to do, since we've really started getting into smallmouth, I'm still not caught some decent fish, but I'd really like to catch a nice. Of course, in Virginia they even have citations, where you send them in, and I think at some point, if I could land a citation smallmouth, that would be pretty cool.
Absolutely. So, what is citation in Virginia?
I'm not exactly sure, but I want to say, oh man, I'd hate to misquote it, but it's got to be pretty decent size. I forget the exact measurements and length, but it's got to be a pretty decent sized fish. So that's what's on my list.
Okay. Is there a particular spot or location that's at the top of your bucket list to fish?
20 inches and 5 pounds. The citation. Yeah, 20 inches and 5 pounds.
Okay.
But I really like the fact that we have a particular body of water here that's kind of encapsulated in our county. So we spend a lot of time on the Maury River, which only flows in Rockbridge County. The headwaters start at the top of our county and kind of flows through. So we spend a lot of time there just because it's specific to where we are. One of our kind of destination trips, and it kind of gets away from the smallmouth fishing, but we really want to take a trip down to the Keys to the Dry Tortugas, and have some friends that have done that and take their kayak and actually kayak and fish around those areas. So that's probably, if there was a particular place to actually go kayaking and fishing, that would be it.
Awesome. All right. So with all of our guests, we do a little segment. We call it "What's Your Favorite," and it's pretty self-explanatory. But I will ask you your favorite in a few different categories here. So, are you ready?
Okay.
All right. What is your favorite scripture?
There's so many. I would probably say that one that's been really important to me is Philippians 4:13. And the fact that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and the whole of that verse. I say this all the time, and I think a lot of times we kind of sticky note verses. I can do all things through Christ, and we put it out there, but we don't really get into the depth of it. And I've learned through all of the experiences of my life and the highs and the lows and ups and downs that verse is true in every situation, that I can get through the difficult situation, but I can also get through the situations that, again, we find ourselves, blessed, and a lot of times in those we can take our eyes off of the Lord. But in that verse, and I think getting into the depth of it and realizing that no matter what my circumstances are, if I'll keep my focus on God, I can do that situation and get through that situation with His help, and get Him glory out of that situation, no matter what the circumstance is.
All right. Absolutely. So, do you have a favorite Bible story?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, again, it kind of goes along with that verse too, and the highs and the lows, but the story of Job and his life situation and life circumstance is a story that's important to me, and a story that I've studied, obviously, and spent some time on. And it's the same thing, to get to that place in my relationship with the Lord, that no matter what, again, my circumstances are, no matter what the situations are, that my focus stays where it needs to be, and that what's most important to me is that people know what the Lord means to me and what He can do for them.
Absolutely. So, what is your favorite fish to catch?
I would definitely have to say that with the newfound in the last 5 years or so, smallmouth is definitely a fun one for me.
Been hearing that a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So, what about your favorite fish to fish for?
I still do enjoy, I still enjoy our trips to Florida. I still enjoy, taking a run out into the Gulf and catching fish. So I'd still say that one of my favorite fish to catch is when we get into, grouper and spend some time down there. So that's still probably way up on the list.
Okay, absolutely. Is there a particular kind of grouper that you go for?
No, typically we're, spending our time while we're down there. We get into grouper, we get into snapper. So just all of that. It's a blast when we get down there and get the opportunity to go out.
Absolutely. You ever tangle with a Goliath?
Yes, actually I have. I have done that. I was actually using somebody else's rod. I had my father-in-law's rod, and I told him, I said, look, I really think this is going to break. I don't want to break your stuff. So I handed it over to him, and it was about 2 seconds later, and it just disintegrated.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, they are definitely a beast. We were not in a position to haul one of them up off the depth, for sure.
Right. All right. What about your favorite fish to eat?
Well, again, probably I'd have to stick with where we're at. Snapper is probably one of my favorites.
Okay. I need to try some snapper. I haven't had that one yet.
Oh, it's excellent.
All right. So, sticking to that food theme, what's your favorite fishing snack?
I would have to say that we would probably be Twizzlers.
Twizzlers?
Yep.
Awesome. Like the pull and peel or the regular kind?
Old school. Yep, regular kind.
I'm pleased to inform you that you gave the correct answer. All right, so I'm not going to ask any kind of specifics or GPS coordinates or anything like that, but what's your favorite body of water to fish on?
I'd still say that it's the Maury River. Like I said, just because it's our local river here. It's kind of an interesting waterway, just the way that it, again, is right here in Rockford County. So, trying to figure it out. Plus, had changes. They've taken the dam out here in Lexington, so that's going to change kind of that whole waterway ecosystem there. So I still think the more, kind of getting it mastered.
Absolutely. And what's your favorite time of year to fish?
Probably the spring. If I had to pick a time of the year, obviously I'd love to fish any time. But the spring, here of course we do have a winter, so sometimes it can be difficult to get out in the winter time and really put in the time fishing, and so you're kind of ready when spring comes to get back at it.
All right. So we are going to start wrapping things up in just a second. Before we do, is there a question that you wish that somebody would ask you and that you've always wanted to have a chance to answer?
The question, if there was a question that I wanted to be asked by anyone, I would hope that it would be because my life was exemplifying Christ in such a way that they wanted to know why I was the way that I am. Why I am the way I am in any situation or any circumstance, so that I could clearly explain to them that it's because of the Lord in me and what He's done for me, and that He absolutely wants to do the same for them.
Awesome. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and start wrapping things up. If you could let us know what is upcoming for you and for Journey Outdoors.
So, of course, it's getting into the season here, so we've got some upcoming events events. We're kind of doing a brand 1-year anniversary celebration. As I said, we've been in the kayak business for about 5 years, but we opened Journey Outdoors at the beginning of last year, 2019. So April 4th at our shop, we're having kind of a big birthday party, if you will, for Journey Outdoors. So that event is upcoming. Just launching some new stuff. We've got new products coming in. We're launching a new brand ourselves of apparel. It's actually called Soul Fishing. And so we've kind of designed a logo and really are fixing to launch that brand and push it out. And so we're excited about all that upcoming stuff, just getting everything prepared for the new season.
Awesome. And is there anything in particular coming up for Cars Late or for Cars Baptist Church?
Yes, the church. Yeah, we actually do. But we've got a revival coming up. We still every year we try to do a revival and have an evangelist in. And a friend of our family, is coming in the 22nd through the 25th of March to lead revival for us. So looking forward to that. It's gonna be a great time.
Absolutely, and I apologize. It's Cars Creek, not Cars Lake. All right. Do you have any supporters or sponsors that you would like to give a shout out to?
Don't really have sponsors myself. Obviously, with the shop, we try to represent all of our brands. And so definitely though want to shout out our support team. We've got an awesome pro staff. We've just put that together. It's got some great folks who really have been helpful to us and get involved in the program and just all the products that we carry. All of those manufacturers and those folks have been very helpful to us. And definitely want to make sure that our support team is thanks for all that they do for us.
All right, and if our listeners want to get in touch with you or follow you on social media or learn more about Journey Outdoors, how do they find you?
Yeah, so Journey Outdoors has Facebook, Instagram. Our website is www.journeyoutlex.com. And so they can find us there. Then also soulfishing.com as well. All of our apparel and swag we're getting put up on soulfishing.com.
All right. Well, Bryan, it has been great having you on. I've had a blast, and thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Another big thank you to Bryan for coming on the show and sharing his story with us. If you would like to learn more about Bryan and Journey Outdoors, check out www.journeyoutlex.com. If you'd like to learn more about their new clothing line, go to www.soulfishing.com. And if you'd like to learn more about Cars Creek Baptist Church, where Bryan pastors, you can find them on Facebook at Cars Creek Baptist Church. Be sure to tune in next week. We've got a legend coming on. Thanks again for tuning in, and God bless. Thanks for listening to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. If you like this episode, please give it a rating, a review, and make sure to subscribe on whatever app you're listening to so you never miss an episode. You can follow the podcast on social media at facebook.com/faithandfishingpodcast and Instagram at faithandfishingpod. Special thanks and a big shout out to Jonathan Intalancy for helping me write, play, and record the music for the show, and to Tyler Worrell, the graphic designer behind our amazing logo. If you have any questions about faith, I encourage you to contact a pastor in your community. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, get out there and catch some fish, and I will catch you on the next episode.